committee, and I was taking time to internalize this very important report. And Mr. Speaker, I must start by commending this committee. I must commend the chairman too, Mr. Speaker. And we now as a House see the reason behind the wisdom of the 12th Parliament to institute the Public Debt and Privatization Committee. And I must say, for this first report, this committee is already doing a brilliant job. Mr. Speaker, public debt is a real issue in this country. So real an issue that for the first time in Kenya, our repayments of international obligations is surpassing the 1 trillion mark, Mr. Speaker. And this 1 trillion mark, Mr. Speaker, is becoming an alarm bell that this country must wake up to. Because international obligations and debt are things that you have very little control over. You do not have control over the fluctuation of international currencies. You do not have control over the rules and stipulations that will be put by the lender. And hence the reason why this Parliament must apply itself through the Committee of Public Debt and Privatization to be on top of matters on what this country is borrowing. Mr. Speaker, there's been a number of calamities that we have experienced in the past. One such calamity is this country going for extremely expensive debts, Mr. Speaker. And expensive debts are at times a sign of corruption because affordable debts are available at good interest rates, but because people want to make personal benefit out of what they're borrowing for the country, some choose to go for these extremely expensive debts that become an impossibility to pay, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said, I would like to support this report in its entirety. One thing in this report that really excites me is the fact that this committee is recommending that we get quarterly reports on debt in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I spent, I think, 4 years, every finance bill and every budget cycle, trying to demand that this House gets the right debt register that we have currently as a country. Because, Mr. Speaker, when it came to the issue of raising the debt ceiling, even this House was at a loss to tell the country how much this country owes. Because this House has not been furnished with the reports on how this country is borrowing, how our registers looks, and what nature of debts we have taken in terms of which ones are international, which ones are local, which ones are foreign, which ones are domestic, which ones are concessional, which ones are conditional, and so forth, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the fact that this committee is taking upon itself to require Treasury to report to this House is one of the reasons that I support this report. Mr. Speaker, there is a recommendation by this committee that in line with the House resolutions on the medium-term debt management strategy of 2023, financial year 2023-2024, the National Treasury should adhere to the approved 50-50 mix of domestic to external borrowing, and any deviation in the funding strategy should be approved by the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, on that one count alone, this committee is starting to speak to the issues why this House demanded for us to have a debt and a debt committee. Mr. Speaker, a matter has been raised here on the issue of counties and the misappropriations of monies for the monies that we send there through the county appropriations bill. Mr. Speaker, this is a radical recommendation, but I do believe that this country cannot continue sending monies to counties in the form that we are sending them, with the executives in the counties having the responsibility to spend as they will. Mr. Speaker, my radical recommendation is that even the monies that go to counties must be transformed to be conditional debts, conditional grants. Mr. Speaker, the reason why CDF performs so well is because if you...
Please give him 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your magnanimity. And the final point I wanted to make is that one of the reasons why CDF is such an effective fund on the ground is because, one, being a conditional grant, if money is allocated from the center to go and build a toilet in Kirigo Primary School, even the board, the committee in the constituency, even the school itself, even the user cannot change the use of that monies because it is a conditional grant assigned to a particular project, and that can never be changed. Mr. Speaker, if we made the monies we send to counties conditional grants, we would see counties registering development projects in a way that we have never seen before, just like CDF does. The second reason why CDF does so well is because the administrative costs on CDF are very little. Being a conditional grant that is administered from a national board, it means that there is only a small committee sitting at the constituency, very lean staff on the national board, and since we do not end up with a situation, what we are seeing in counties, where a county allocates 330 million to recurrent expenditure and 0 to development. Mr. Speaker, it means that we have 47 governments that are doing nothing else but paying salaries. And as a result, we end up, Mr. Speaker, with the only visible projects out there, the projects done by CDF, a conditional grant, while the billions and billions of shillings that go to the counties end up only paying salaries and nothing else. Mr. Speaker, I support this report fully, and I thank you for the opportunity and the magnanimity to